Anyway, good evening. It's Dave Matthews, Personal Navigation, 13th of June. Just if anybody wants to call in, you can ring in on 0161 298 0298. The website is www.darkcityradio.com, and you can also Skype in at Bob's Backyard. We'd love to answer any questions, any success stories, any failures, anything you've got going on at the moment. Just ring in. We want to hear from you. We want to, you can put questions in the chat box, etc., etc. So, and we'll do our best to answer all questions. And you can butt in as well if you so wish, because I know that's quite frustrating. Because sometimes you want to speak and you can't get in, and then by the time you get in, then people have moved on to different subjects. So just want to start off by saying we headed up to Ashton-under-Lyne Court yesterday morning. We left at 5:30 to meet up with Paul and Star-Lord. Who was the other guys we met up with there, Paul, yesterday? Peter and I can't remember.
Nigel was there.
Nigel was there.
Star-Lord, Peter, and then there was the Reverend
David Lord.
The Reverend David Lord, and who was actually pretty clued up when we arrived. Yeah,
and we're hoping he's going to phone in tonight. Touch wood. So to see how he got on, because we all sort of spread out in different directions. But I'll just start. I always point out when I go in that I guess you're going into a kind of a trust meeting, really. And the first thing they do when you get to the building is they breach your trust, and they start sort of searching you and frisking you. And I don't know if they like to touch you with their wands and stuff. I don't really know, but they seem to touch you with their wands as well. But up in the court in Ashton-under-Lyne, they get very, very excited if you're wearing a hat. And I sort of had a read through the rules there, the regulations, and it sort of says you can wear various headgear as long as it's for religious reasons. So, and I think I believe you can wear a knife of some sort as well, if it's to do with religious reasons. So, anyway, some of us had cameras on us, which, just deliberately to sort of make them do their job sort of thing. And after they got very excited about the hat, the guy took his hat off and then put it back on and started to walk upstairs to the courtrooms, and the one of the security guards started sort of shouting at Paul about somebody else having a hat on, and Paul didn't even have a hat on, and neither did I, and neither did Matthew, neither did Ali. But anyway, we got shouted at about the hats. We don't really know why, but they don't like hats. So anyway, apparently it's to do with being able to identify you. Apparently, if you wear a hat up in Ashton-under-Lyne Magistrates Court, it's very difficult to identify you. I don't quite know how that works, because you could take your hat off for identification. But hey, they make their own rules. So some differences I did notice up there. In the court up there, it would appear that you could sit there and write and take notes and one thing and another. If you do that in South Wales, they come unglued and start banging their chest and all sorts of, silly things like that. What were the other thing? There was another thing I've lost my train of thought. But when the first guy we helped there was Star-Lord, or I say help, we were there to sort of witness what was going on, because I guess especially in the council tax cases, which was what this was in relation to, they don't keep a record of it. It's not even at the level of a magistrate's court properly. It's just like an internal tribunal, really. I was very, very surprised that with all the information out there, and I was trying to explain to him before he went in, he was determined to argue, or he seemed very keen on sort of getting an argument with him, and we were trying to sort of persuade, really, that he shouldn't, I was trying to teach him that you shouldn't be going in there arguing, you should be asking questions. And also, you should be not arguing about what you're going in. You shouldn't be arguing about the council tax and how much you have to pay and what the rules of it are and what the statute says and blah, 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 blah. What you want to be doing is say, listen, how the fuck is this applicable to me? Maybe not put it like that, but, anyway, you want to be questioning the jurisdiction that the court have over you, number one, which is what I keep trying to tell people. Go read Section 32 of the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. We will find the equivalent to that for this country, but just go read that short line. Government rules, I keep saying it, repeating it and repeating it and repeating it. Government rules, aka statutes and acts of Parliament, only apply to government. So anyway, that was the first thing. He just went in and wouldn't stand where they wanted him to stand. So the guy in the middle, the magistrate in the middle, I think his second name was Idiot. I believe that's factually correct. It might not be, but he did look as if his second name was Idiot. He started banging his chest, getting very, very excited, and Star-Lord sort of plonked himself down with his bags and sat there, and they started their sort of discussion. The clerks, announced that he was there for the council tax and blah, 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 went through the whole thing and then said to Star-Lord, how do you feel about that? And, he got up and said his piece, and that basically started arguing about the council tax, not about the fact that was it applicable to him in the first instance and how it became applicable to him and all the other questions you could ask. So, he got to a point, I guess, yesterday where they'd already made the clerk had sort of started practicing law from the bench. He used his opinion. He didn't use law. At which point, Paul laughed out loud, and kind of made me laugh. And we were trying to sort of get to ask Star-Lord to ask them to identify themselves, and so he then asked them, would any of them on the council? And Mr. Idiot in the middle said, I don't see the relevance of that. And Star-Lord replied, there is a relevance because of the conflict of interest, blah, blah, blah. Big fuss. Paul was sort of, he just basically said, you should identify yourself, this is unlawful, blah, 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 blah. I laughed. The next thing we know, an undercover cop got up and escorted myself and Paul out of the courtroom. We were threatened, I believe, with contempt of court outside the thing. And I asked, was it civil contempt, or by the time I got common law contempt, he disappeared back because I just didn't know what contempt he was on about. But at that point, Paul had asked him to identify himself. Paul also put his hand out to shake his hand to say, oh, no problem. It's just that what's going on there in that room is unlawful. And he said he would go in and get a pen so we could write his details down and blah, blah, blah. We didn't see him again. So he refused to give us his details, and somebody else got his details.
In all fairness, Dave, that was the Jedi mind trick. At that point, that guy forgot completely who he was, where he was, what he was doing, and why he was doing it.
Yeah.
And who he was.
Yeah.
I think he even gave me the wrong number.
Yeah, quite possibly. He was quite sort of in your face as well, wasn't he?
Yeah, well, I thought he needed a cuddle.
I was gonna cuddle him, but I don't know if he'd have taken it well.
No, he didn't. He seemed to be more anxious about what was going on than, in all fairness, than we were. The weird thing was, though, is why would they have a plainclothes policeman in the court?
In the council tax tribunal.
The council tax tribunal,
I mean,
maybe it had something to do with the hats.
It might have been the hats.
Because he did, when we were going up the stairs, he did start to have a go at myself over a hat. I actually pointed out to him that I didn't actually have a hat, that we were independent media, we knew exactly what we were doing, and my business with him was now over. I see that as maybe it was a bit of a mistake. I should have perhaps kept my mouth shut.
I don't think so. I think it's a good thing that the police witnessed for himself magistrates failing to identify themselves. You know?
To be honest, he was a mindless drone, wasn't he?
Yeah, correct.
I'm not having to go at the guy. You know, I'm sure. You know, I'd say I'd cheer if we met him in a pub with him, but I wouldn't. I wouldn't even sit in an area with the stench of him.
Yeah, I quite agree. But
he was unshaven. You could smell him. He had BO. I'm not being horrible. I'm just being honest. I'm just trying to be a witness. You know, I mean, is he deep undercover? I mean, has he been sleeping rough for a few days? You know, so he fits in with what they think the clientele are going to be. I mean, what is all that about? And he was literally removed them. We have a plainclothes, and it was like they were dead proud. It's like, oh, we've never had a plainclothes police.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's like it's setting the dogs on us, really.
Oh, look, Norman, that's what he's called, that guy in the middle. Norman
Idiot?
Twitty. I can never get it right. It's Twitty or Twatty or Twatty, I think it is.
So is his middle name Idiot?
No, it's just Twat.
Ah, okay.
I mean, it's Twatty. Anyway, the guy who was sat in the middle, Norman. You could see it. He gleed in it. He really did. He gleed in it. And there was one point. Now they have to, as far as I get it, they have to sign these orders. You know, when they do it, each of the magistrates has to put a thing on a bit of paper, write it down on a piece of paper, and then they put it in, and that's what becomes the order. And when the council representative said the amount, they all put their heads down and immediately wrote out their orders. Mm-hmm. That was it.
Yeah, you pointed that out to me, yeah.
That's it. It was over. The case was over. They'd already done it. They'd already signed the forms. It was...
And you could also see, Paul, for the viewers, that when Starlord was talking about the sort of legality of what they had done and the process that the council had followed, and that they hadn't really followed due process of law, that you could see the council lawyer getting extremely twitchy. You know, she was extremely uncomfortable at that point. You know, you could just see by her body language that she was flapping. So I don't know if you'd like to add some thoughts on that aspect of it.
Yeah, she got what I call wobbly neck syndrome, where she was trying to keep her head, but she was looking for reassurance from the clerk. Because every time he was saying something, her head was kind of going, like, nodding from side to side, and yes, no, yes, no, yes. And the clerk was responding, basically to her. The clerk was reassuring her. When, I can't keep calling him, Stephen he's called, Stephen Starlord. Because I was under the impression from him that he changed his name. And one of the main reasons I went, to be honest, was I wanted him to shout, Starlord! Is Starlord in the court?
Yeah.
It would have been brilliant. But it didn't happen. So that was a bit of a letdown. But,
I thought he'd change. Yeah, because we thought he'd change.
Yeah, that's the impression he'd led us to believe. But no, unfortunately, Starlord turned out to be Steve. But yeah, just where you were saying about it, he's a nice guy and all that, and the attitude was to try and, I suppose, defend his position through coming up with a legal argument.
Yeah.
Our survey says, and you leave with a bill. So that's what happened. So yeah, I mean, that's Ashton Underline Court. I mean, you just don't stand up. I mean, just don't stand up. I mean, when they go out and they come back in again, they freak out. They will freak out completely. I mean, you've never seen anything like it. I mean, people find it hard to believe. But yeah, a good bit of fun. You can have a good little bit of fun with it. I think if I keep going, eventually they're going to bar me. I'm going to get barred from the court.
That would be a good thing, wouldn't it?
It would be really cool getting barred from the court. I have actually been on one occasion with my ceremonial staff, which is about 6.5, 7 foot long. I've been with my ceremonial staff. My argument in that was that what would I swear upon?
Yeah.
It's a holy relic. And
But for the listeners though, they are supposed to, if they're claiming it to be a magistrate's court, which we're all pretty aware now that even at the council tax level, it isn't even a magistrate's court. They are supernumeraries. They're like paid actors. They're not even there in the capacity of a magistrate. The clerk is not there in the capacity of a court clerk. The court is not a court. It's a bloody internal tribunal, and this is going on all over the country, day in, day out. They don't follow due process of law. The councils are issuing their own summonses. We're now, we're blatantly aware of that. Everybody knows that. Ministry of Justice's rules say councils cannot issue, only courts can issue summonses. Only courts can issue liability orders. You try and get a record of a liability order from the proper court, you won't get one. This is the whole process is completely unlawful. And the people in there I think the maxim is I'm entitled to know with whom I deal, I believe. Lee or Paul might be able to add to that. But they refused to identify themselves. All of the people in that room yesterday refused to identify themselves. And I guess they were happy in doing that because they had their little flying monkey sat on the end. And they gave him the order. And that's another questionable thing. Since when do police take orders from people who aren't even there in the capacity of a magistrate? Does that mean we can order? Were they there as lay people? If they were just there as lay people, does that mean that we can now start issuing orders to flying monkeys? Because I've got one.
Excuse me, Dave. I'm terribly sorry to interrupt you.
No, go on.
But we've just had 2 complaints. You can't put monkeys down like that.
Well, I do apologise to the monkeys. I don't know what else we could call them, but
well, monkeys are actually able to use tools to do things.
And they can think as well, can't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did forget that.
But the highlight for me, to be honest, was with the security guards. Well, Peter, but we can get onto that a little later. But on the early event was actually going into the court. I always carry numerous cameras. And objects that annoy people, like a water bottle. That for people in the south, that's a water bottle. So yeah, when I first went in, they didn't want to check that I didn't have an exploding underpants device or anything. They didn't want to check, but they wanted to take my camera and they offered me a receipt. This receipt he passed me was a post-it note, and I looked at him and I said, "That's a post-it note." He said, "That's right." I said, "You offered me a receipt, and I accepted your offer of a receipt. So could I please have a receipt?" And so he got a blue book out, and he wrote on a piece of paper in the book with a piece of carbon behind it. So he had a copy of his piece of paper, and he wrote 1 camera and a name. And he handed me this second piece of paper with some writing on it, just a plain sheet of paper. And I said, "That's a bigger piece of paper. It's not a receipt." At this point, he kind of got quite angry. I mean, Dave was there. He kind of got quite upset.
I thought he was going to chuck you out, actually, at that point.
Well, he did actually say, you can just leave. And I said, "Are you refusing me access to the court building?"
Yeah.
And then he scurried off to get his commander. And to be honest, then this lady came out, and I mean, she must have been in her late 50s. She was a nice lady, but this lady came out and she's got, she's actually got a stormtrooper outfit on, and a utility belt. She was lovely, and she came out and she said, "What's the problem?" I said, "Well, he's offered me a receipt. I've accepted a receipt, and now he's getting very angry because nobody's giving him any receipts." So she went away, and she said, "But they haven't." No. She said, "They haven't given us any." I said, "Well, look, have you got a stamp?" She said, "Yeah." I said, "If you stamp your stamp in the receipt book, then it becomes a receipt. Until you stamp it, it's a piece of paper. Oh, she said, and she disappears. And then she came back with another one, all written out in a best handwriting, with a great big tin side court stamp on it. And then they give me the piece of paper. I mean, but in all fairness, although it's funny to us and we're having a bit of a, we're putting a bit of a show on, really. It's comedy. It's comedy, isn't it?
Yeah, you got to enjoy it.
But those lads, they got really frustrated and upset, even to the fact they were trying to have a problem with me for not having a hat, because I didn't have a hat. Perhaps I will take a hat next time.
Well, at least they're justified in their actions then, because arguing with somebody for wearing a hat when they haven't got a hat is a little bit silly.
But the tea lady, she found it incredibly funny. I don't know if you noticed her, and every time she went past me, she went, "You take that hat off."
Yeah.
And this became a real annoyance, and she actually worked there. But she became a bigger annoyance to what had gone on than actually ourselves. And she was laughing her head off every time she said it. So it was good fun. It was a good day out. But also quite traumatic. There's that traumatic side of it. I do suggest if you are going to go to court or you've been summoned to court, go and visit the court, go in the public gallery, get yourself familiar with it. Get yourself familiar with how they move around, what they do, who they are, take notes, see if you get shouted at for taking notes. Don't take notes and see if you get shouted at for not taking notes.
Wear a hat.
I would always suggest that you carry a clipboard. A clipboard and an older pen. Keep a pen in your right hand and tap your clipboard with it. Just stand there, tapping the top of your clipboard with a pen. It seems to have some kind of strange reaction to anyone who works in courts. They immediately seem to think you're just part of the furniture when you have a clipboard.
That's interesting.
And a pen. Yeah, Nigel always carries a big briefcase when he goes to court.
It was the whole thing, though. I mean, people have said to me that I've talked to, what, you went up there for nothing? Did you get paid? What? Paid? It was a freaking day out. I enjoyed it. It's more fun than I've had in ages. It's brilliant. It's better than going to the cinema. It's comedy. It's absolute comedy. Seeing people who are supposed to be in a position of authority, aka magistrates, they're acting like 5-year-old children in a schoolyard arguing over a ball. You sit there. No, you sit there. No, I'm not sitting there. Come on. Didn't you grow up? Did you miss the bit where you're supposed to have grown up? But like you say, go into these court buildings. If you're going to start messing around and testing the water and sort of feeling your feet in it, get your ass in there. Go like exactly like Paul says. Go in, sit down, try things. Don't stand up when they ask you to stand up. Watch them come unglued and start beating their chests. Like they're called, Your Honor and all of this sort of stuff. People, when they come in and out of the rooms, nod their head at them. When was the last time somebody nodded their head at me? It's crazy. But anyway, I'll let you carry on for a bit, Paul. We get to I suppose we'll cover the Peter thing next, I suppose, is it?
Oh, I don't know. There was the lady we missed, actually. She was sat outside.
Yeah, this is a really heartening story. Yeah,
and she's I suppose I don't know. She's contributed. She's always contributed to the system. She doesn't have a full-time job. She gets some kind of a top up, but she's always contributed all the way through it. And they've just made a complete sham, really. Again, as most councils do. But she kept a few notes and what had happened, and she basically had listened to what we'd said. She was quite angry angry when we got there.
And I think she was scared as well, wasn't she?
Yes.
You know, and I suppose her first impression when us lot walked in would have been maybe, "Ooh, these idiots," or something like that. They sort of do a thing where they try to disassociate or sort of away from you.
She didn't ask you for your phone number then, Dave?
No, she wasn't interested. No, she didn't want my phone number. She was more interested, I think, in Matthew's phone number because he's got beautiful eyelashes.
Did she ask you for your phone number, Matthew?
No, she didn't, unfortunately.
All right.
But
that's very strange.
She did say she was going to listen in tonight, so if she's listening, then maybe she could call in.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, if she is, well done, sweetheart. Wow.
Exactly. You stood your ground.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I saw the people come out of the court. Like I say, I'd been thrown out by then. But from what we heard, she ripped into him. And she stood her ground. She stood her ground. She did get quite emotional. She got upset a couple of times, but she stood her ground. This is what I didn't witness it, but it's what I would call from the witness reports of a self-empowered individual. She was not taking no shit from no one. And like you said, she was a bit scared. She was a little bit intimidated. But within, I suppose, 10 minutes, 20 minutes of us occupying the area, the entire atmosphere of the place changed.
Yeah.
People were starting to tell jokes, and smiles were beginning to crack on people's faces, and the stories are being told. Well, hang on a minute. What? We've got to go in there and trust these lying bastards? And everybody's like, yeah. They're like, I reckon a fuller court, and it wouldn't have been contempt. It would have been a fray. I think. Because people, and I said this on Rick's show the other day, the people aren't behind us in this. When you talk to them, they're with us.
Absolutely, yeah.
So yeah, like I said, what I saw with my eyes is how the council responded to her. She came out of that court, and the council, the woman from the council, she came out like a little lapdog, running by her side. Oh, sorry. Now, apparently, and I've only heard about this, there's people now putting in cases against the social services and social security for creating mental stress.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what it's called. I spoke to quite a dear friend of mine the other day, who has been put through the mill by them. You wouldn't believe it. I don't know how they've managed to keep it together. So if you two are listening out there, which I very much doubt they are, they've been studying that much, and they haven't got the internet. But you know, my thoughts are with you. They really are. And you two just stay grounded. You're coming out of the other side of it now. They're getting some support, which has been needed for a long time. So.
And just to add to that, Paul, don't forget, you know, I know we're kind of like drifting into other subjects, but I think it's very, very important to cover. But the government, they're employed by us, you know, and your simple question to people, do government lie? Everybody answers yes, you know, but I do not see the point at which your own government can stress you to the level where, you know, I mean, people are committing suicide. People, you know, Stephanie Bottrell chucked herself out in front of a lorry because of the bedroom tax. Her employees, somebody who she could have voted for, somebody who she has paid money to in the past in good faith that she would be looked after in her time of need, chucked herself out in front of a lorry. How real is that? I mean, just think about the mess of that. For a moment, think about what went through that woman's head just before she did that. Her own county council did that to her. That's something that everybody, you know, people listening, consider that for a moment. Consider that one bit of bad luck that you could have. Just that one bit of bad luck that could put you into the position of Stephanie Bottrell, where you are all of a sudden being harassed to the point where you can't sleep at night, where you don't even want to wake up in the morning. You don't know where your next bit of money's coming from. You don't know how you're going to feed your children. You don't know how you're going to keep the roof over your head. Just stop and think while you're in your little bubbles that you think's really perfect and everything's going along fine and dandy. Just stop and just put yourself in that position, because it will affect somebody at some point. So just carry on. That's my little rant over.
Good little rant, man. Good little rant. Why not? You should do more of them. So yeah, like you say, man, it is a good day out. To be honest though, I'd like to be out. I wouldn't like the opportunities to go. I want all the opportunities to have gone. I'd like to be unemployed. I wouldn't like there to be a position where we could put on a zone stream where we'd need to. I really would. I'd like to be out of work as quickly as I possibly could. My ambition, and I've been asked a couple of times, is to become unemployed. That's my actual ambition. Of course, I haven't got a job in a sense that I get paid for working. I haven't, but yeah, I endeavour to become completely disconnected from the system and unemployed. That would be lovely. It is easier said than done, and there are many things that are actually easier done than said. It gets me, as I know it gets many of you, when we don't do the things that are easiest to do. When we don't support our neighbours, we don't kind of accept that we are part of the community we live in, and that each one of us does make a difference every moment that we're there, wherever we are, and that each one of us is vitally important. We don't have time for it. It's a constant bombardment. Oh, this is happening, that's happening, this is happening over there, and this is happening there. Whoa, and people just haven't got there. So I can see how they can get to a position where they'd all know that the governments are lying, cheating scum. They know that, right? Yeah. They know the banks are robbing them, and they know they're continuing to rob them. I can see how they get there, but they feel powerless, Dave. They're powerless. What can they do? You see, do you know what this tells me? They're all good, righteous, loving, caring people of my community. That's what that tells me, Dave.
Yeah.
Because they will not do unto others as has been done unto them. They're not looking for retribution. They're not looking to hang up or string up the government. They just want it to stop and no one knows down.
That's all people want, is to be left alone, left alone to live freely and unmolested. I mean, like you say, there is not. I try and sort of think sometimes and have a good think about what aspect of your life is not controlled in one way or another, or not taxed. There's not much you can do. I mean, we're not only in a mind prison, which is, I think, the most important thing to get out of, but we are in effect in a big prison whereby we're regulated so heavily, and if we don't conform, we are attacked. We're attacked by the very people that are supposed to protect us, and that's my whole reason for doing this show. I'm busy, I work, work very hard and stuff, but I'm totally committed to this because I want to help people. It's my mission to sort of make things better and fix things, because I can't think really that these people want to do these bad things, but they're also in the same position as we are. We're all desperately trying to get by. We're desperately trying just to keep our heads above water, and the people that are there doing the bad things to the other people are trying to do the same thing. They're trying to keep their heads above water. They're attacked. Don't forget, if they do something wrong, or they, can't pay a council tax bill or one thing, they get attacked. If they speed in their cars, they get attacked. This cannot be what humanity wants to do on a daily basis. It's crazy. You think Just think for a moment about land. Think about houses. Think about the way that has been driven up and up and up and up and up to the point where you're working such long hours just to be able to come back to your little bubble in the night. What enjoyment are you having? You go to work, you come home, you eat, you sleep. You get up the next day, you go to work, you come home, you eat, you sleep. What enjoyment is that? What are you getting out of life? And if you step out of line, an onslaught will begin. You'll be attacked. You'll be threatened. In the first letter they will write you, they will threaten you. These people work for you. And we are the problem. We need to sort of, I don't know, get some sort of harmony. I don't know. Divestment is definitely the way forward, I think. Create something better. There are certainly probably people at the top that are sort of manipulating situations, but I think that's the reason. That's what we're. And yesterday we helped. We helped two people. We helped two people leave that courtroom yesterday happy, and that for me was worth the 7 hours driving, the cost of the fuel. It was great. It was a brilliant day out, and we helped people. We helped people who are now no longer scared. They now understand that court, they're just people. They're just three ignorant people on the bench. One claimed to be expert in law, and whoever's bringing the claim against them. But they're just people. So, Dad, if you want to carry on now for a bit, Paul, and we'll get on to the Peter thing. So that's my rant over again.
We could do a rant tag team, couldn't we? I think. I mean, I'm not taking anything away from the lady we mentioned, a woman. She did stand in her own power, and I ain't taking anything away from that. But by sheer, what do we call them, coincidence or synchronicity? That's the new science, isn't it? Science of synchronicity. Yeah. We bumped into Peter. We'll just call him Peter, who I know. I've actually known this guy for a number of years. He's a tank. He's a big guy, Pete, and he has had issues in the past. He'll freely admit it. Peter's used cannabis. He was addicted to alcohol and prescription drugs. And Peter's was completely clean of all this. He'd been using cannabis, and he'd been growing his own. And he got raided. He's not had medicine. He has gone downhill a little bit, but he's all right. He's strong. He is, and he's not done anything wrong. He's got that in his head. It doesn't matter what anybody says to him. I haven't done anything wrong. I
haven't hurt anybody.
He's beautiful, isn't he, Dave?
Yeah. Absolutely.
He's a beautiful man. He's a big bloke, and just to see him, he's quite intimidating. But he's a beautiful man. Well, I don't know. He's the victim. He's the victim, and he's just no. I haven't hurt anyone. He repeatedly. So he. Again, he was a bit scared. He was a bit unnerved by the situation. What's actually happened, in brief, is he's gone to court now on a couple of occasions, and the police and the statements, and he's gone to court. But he keeps saying, "I'm not guilty," and they keep telling him that. Well, we've got a statement, and he keeps, "Well, Matt, I haven't done anything wrong. I haven't hurt anybody."
Mm-hmm. Deficiency in the case.
So, it comes to a point where there's a judge going to see him. I've never heard of it, mate. Well, I have heard of it, but in murder cases and big fraud cases, where they go in and say, right then, you do 15 years, or you'll do. If you admit it now, we'll give you a £200 fine and you'll all go home tonight. It's like something you see on an American TV series or something.
Trying to do a deal.
They're trying to do a deal, yeah. And when he's gone to the first lot, the police, and he's gone, I've done nothing wrong. And then he's gone to the solicitors, and they've said, blah, blah, blah. And Burton and Copeland solicitors, I just might like to add, although they are, like any other solicitors, they are bound, is it bound by the bar?
Yeah, they've sworn an oath to the bar, yeah.
They've sworn an oath by the bar. They are very honest. Okay? I don't want to get them into trouble, but they're straight. They are, when they can't say it, they'll tell you they can't say it.
Can I just add something to that as well?
Oh,
just
please.
Quickly. Sorry to butt in. In the two things that he's done, without even sort of knowing he's done them, is number one, he's pled guilty to the facts. Okay, which is a classic method in the stuff that I bang on about. Okay, yeah, I was speeding, or yeah, I was growing plants. Yeah, I didn't produce my documents. I'm guilty of the facts. Okay, but like I've talked before about deficiencies, I think how he actually worded it to us was, well, who have I harmed? Who have I hurt? I haven't hurt anybody. And in doing that, completely innocently, believing in his heart, like he believes in his heart, he hasn't done anything wrong.
Oh, definitely, definitely. It's from his heart, Dave, without a doubt.
He hasn't, but in his heart, and that's what I was trying to say to Star-Lord yesterday, or Steve. Speak from the heart. Speak honestly and speak from the heart, and that's what Peter's done. But inadvertently, he's not waived a major deficiency in a case, in that for a crime to be a crime, there has to be an injured party. He is there blatantly saying on record, but I haven't hurt anybody. I haven't done anything wrong. I haven't done it. What? I haven't hurt anybody. Of course I'm not guilty of hurting anybody. There you go. So I'll let you carry on with what you were saying there. I just wanted to add that in so that kind of the listeners can understand that without sort of knowing what he's done, exactly what he did do. Go on.
I think the lady spoke from her heart as well, Dave.
Exactly, and she actually, at one point she said she was pointing at the council lawyer, from what I was told by Matt and Ali, she was pointing at him saying, you are lying, and you know you're lying. I spoke to you on the phone and you told me I didn't have to pay it. And she was pointing at them and she was freaking angry. She was saying, you are a liar. You're standing here in a court and you're blatantly lying. And she was getting really passionate about it, and she spoke from the heart. She believed in what she was saying. And that's an important thing. So anyway, carry on about,
from what I gather, she did take the dock.
Yeah.
If you're going to take the dock, open your gun turrets.
Yeah.
That's what you need to do. You can guarantee you'll take out their harbour. And once you take out their harbour, the flooding, the tears.
It's an adversarial process. You're in there to fight your grain.
I've been in front of that Clark before.
Yeah.
Yes. In the old courts before the new ones are there, but we can come to that later if there's time.
Yeah.
So yeah, Peter. Peter is.
You were saying about the solicitors, weren't you? About them being honest and stuff.
Oh yes, Bertland and Copeland. They were in Manchester. I was put onto these. A good solicitor. Okay, the good solicitors. If there's such a thing in that realm, but I've actually was put onto them through Richard Perry, who was the gentleman who defended under medical necessity and won, forcing the law lords to judge that it was not a plea under English law. It's not a plea. Okay, now there's something here, because Peter's been told that that's not a plea. There is only two things you can plead: guilty or not guilty. Now, to me, he's being coerced. He's being placed into a position of demand. He's not being given a choice.
Yeah.
And really, looking at it another way, because he's speaking from his heart, he's not falling into those traps. Because they are trying to trap him. There's no doubt about it. They really are.
Yeah, definitely.
So, the honest solicitors. Peter is given a piece of paper, basically. He talks to us for a while. He listened to what the Reverend David Lord, the Reverend Lord. That's wonderful, isn't it? Can we now please call the Reverend Lord? I want to go in court. I want to hear that one. Yes, where was I? Yes, he listened, he put and spoke, and then he asked if somebody would help him. We were considering Mackenzie's friend, I think it's called.
Yeah.
Appropriate adult. It was quite funny, because he's a big guy. He's a really big guy, and Dave's quite little, in stature, not in energy. Don't mistake that, but in stature, he's a short guy, aren't you, Dave? Right? And,
4'3.5", I think.
Yeah, and he's a giant. Peter's a giant, you see. And so, it's like the big guy asking the little guy if he'll look after him. It was just that surreal moment, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So, David said a few things, and Nigel, who was with us from the Pax Monday show, he writes down what they've said.
Hi, Dave Matthews back again. Second half of Personal Navigation. We went to break there. And Paul was telling us about what happened yesterday. We were just outside the court, and he'd been handed a piece of paper which was some stuff that I'd written down. So I'll let you carry on with the story, Paul, if that's okay.
As soon as I unmute my microphone, yes. So we were outside, and Nigel had written it down. Actually, you dictated, didn't you, to Nigel, and Nigel wrote it down. This kind of triad. Now they created a triad of of energies. Now, do you want to just tell people? Anyway, no. I'll let you. It will come to that. We'll come to that in a minute, right?
Yeah.
So, Peter's is to take this piece of paper and hand it to his solicitor, as he does. He trots off.
We said to get your solicitors to say that for you, didn't we?
Yeah. It's to your solicitor. Excuse me, Dave. Yeah, it's to your solicitor, and get her to say this. And so he trots off with his bit of paper, and he hands it to his solicitor. Now, we don't see this. And suddenly, well, not suddenly, as Peter tells us, his solicitor reads it, smiles at him, and says, "I can't, but you should."
Yeah.
And he looked at her, and she smiled back, and she went, blah, 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 all the pleasantries and so forth. And then Peter comes back over, actually, to join us. We've come inside at this point. We've gone through the hat and the camera and the receipt routine with the security. And we're upstairs partaking.
I actually did watch her read it. I actually stood there and watched her read it.
You did? Oh,
yeah.
Right. Yeah. So, and she did actually light up, didn't she, Dave?
She did. She did light up, yeah.
A big grin come over her face. And she was like, yeah. Well, now, I do know someone else who's actually been via this same solicitors, and they've been told to defend themselves also, because they know what they're on about. They've got a good defence. And theirs, as far as I know, currently is on on the Bible. They're actually using the Bible, if I'm currently up to date on them, the thing that they actually swear upon before they do it. Apparently, they're going to open it and go, read it out, then close it and swear on it. So, however, like I say, Dave saw her, and she lit up, and she left, and then it's been bailed. He's been bailed again. He's just been given this a slip of paper saying he's got to come back at a later date to talk to the judge again.
Yeah.
So yeah, do you want to tell the listeners what was actually written on that piece of paper?
Yeah, I basically so everybody understands, because I actually said to him when we gave him the bit of paper, I can guarantee you she won't read it out. She's got a superseding oath to the Law Society, which means she has to stay within the Law Society rules. A lot of solicitors are well aware that there are deficiencies in every case, etc., etc., etc. So, and also they're aware that in order to get jurisdiction over people, they have to waiver the deficiencies in the case. So if a solicitor was to question jurisdiction, they would get disbarred because they're not honouring their oath, as it were, to the Law Society. So, and that's another classic. While I'm on the subject, so I don't forget, if you get screwed over and you were represented by a solicitor, that is an absolute classic way of getting remedy. You can go in and say, well, I wasn't made aware that my solicitor had a superseding oath to the Law Society, therefore she had a conflict of interest. So that's a very, very good reason to reopen a case if you fancy having a go at this, if you've been financially penalised or whatever. But what I wrote on there was that to say that he wasn't prepared to waive any deficiencies in the case, and I also wrote down that he wanted to rebut every single presumption and assumption that they were making, and again that he had harmed nobody. And I guess, when she read through, she smiled and lit up, and obviously Pete told us what he'd said to her. I can't, but you should. And that's a very honourable bit of advice for a solicitor to give somebody in his position. Like you pointed out yesterday, it's not in the public, they're making out that it's in the public interest to prosecute him. What's he done wrong? What? It's in the public interest, like you say, to persecute him. So should we go around persecuting people? Or maybe we should go to the people that developed a drug called Seroxat and start talking to them about persecution. I don't know. But certainly Pete has not harmed anybody, and he does not deserve to be persecuted. Like, he's had his issues, and he's done extremely well to get himself where he is. And he's done it not by taking pharmaceutical crap, that's proven time and time again to cause problems as opposed to help problems. He's done it himself using herbal, hemp oil and such like, and now he's being hauled over the coals for it. So I guess we must think that somewhere out there are solicitors that are quite honest, and I think she was one of those people. And she's very easy on the eye as well, I must say. So I'll let you carry. I don't know if you want to add anything to that, Paul.
Well, no. Just again, I don't know if it's the third or fourth. That's not the first occasion that they have not had a conflict of interest at that solicitors. I don't do advertisements, as people know, but that's on 2 occasions now. Now, a lot of solicitors I've come across, they actually act upon the conflict of interest. I've been in a case not so long ago where a lad was pulled on the street for £20 worth of cannabis. It's again, his solicitor was not prepared to even mount a defence. Really wasn't. Not only that, but when I actually asked what law he'd actually broken, he actually responded, "There's no money in that." That's why we responded. He can't get paid for that. You can only get defence if you're going to put forward what they call a defence, what they'll accept as a defence. So medical necessity they will not accept as a defence, and so on. Now, I don't know that much about the law, but it would appear to me is if you defend yourself, then once you're there, you can use whatever you feel right to defend yourself. You can bring forth, as long as it's pertaining to or relative to your defence.
Yeah.
And I
classic.
don't think you want that happening. Well, every time it happens, people win.
Yeah. And a classic as well with, I said to him outside the courtroom, are you denying me a God-given plan? In that case, are you claiming to be a higher authority than God or divine or whoever you believe in? We're talking about a plant. We're talking about nothing different than a tea plant or a coffee plant. They have an effect. That's all it is. If it wasn't criminalized, then there wouldn't be crime. There wouldn't be violence associated with it. It's just a plant. That's all it is. But if you start talking about it as if it were just a plant and it existed on this planet, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, people have been using it. And then all of a sudden they decided to make it illegal because of money. But when you start talking, and you can rest assured, if you get up to a higher level judge and use those arguments, a higher level judge will listen. That's been proven time and time again. But it comes right back to, again, people really must get it in their heads. I don't know what else I can do. Maybe I should print off the book on administrative law there that I read that says the Crown only have power in the capacity of employer. I keep banging on about it. I tried to tell Steve about it yesterday. They are just corporation rules. Easy to get out of. Don't be the corporate officer. And you can do it in so many different ways, and you can have fun with it. You can enjoy it. We travelled all them hours yesterday just to have fun in there. This Monday, Stroud Magistrates Court, I'm up. And it'll be fun. Anybody, just turn up. Just come to Stroud Magistrates Court. They think that they're going to be having a trial, but I don't think they'll be having a trial. And I think it'll be a lot of fun. So anybody that fancies it, we got to be there at 10 o'clock. Probably wear my welding clothes and my trainers with all holes in and walk in like I just got out from underneath a rock, because I kind of like doing that. And they sort of, it puts them on the wrong foot, because they immediately underestimate you as soon as you walk in the room. I don't know. I keep threatening to, do other things. I don't know. I think a classic Dean Clifford, would it be contempt of court if I called the Crown a stupid fucking asshole? And yes, it would. Well, I better not do that then. I think that's an absolute classic. And I think I will work up to doing that soon. But maybe not Monday. So anyway, if anybody fancies that, get your ass up there and we'll all have a fun day out. So, but back onto the girl there that beat the council. It was an amazing turnaround, and I think that it's the reason I'm in this. It's the reason that I'm sort of doing this, is to alleviate people's fear and try and sort of bring a bit of harmony back. That she was in fear. She was angry. She was, she felt hard done by, and I think there are so many people out there now who've worked all their lives and contributed and done what they taught. They were taught by their parents and taught by the schools was the right thing to do. They've paid their national insurance, they've paid their income tax, and they genuinely believed when they did that they would be looked after. And, I've said it, I had to have time off work. Matt works with me. We work for, nothing most of the time. We spend more time helping people, and we even, we do work on people's cars for nothing as well. That we don't just do this for nothing. We just help people. And, but as a result of it, we've never got any money. But I was in the position there a few years ago where I had to have a hip replacement because my hip had worn out because I kept falling off horses, or I rode the wrong horses. Some of them had cataracts, and I ended up anyway. I was in a position to have a replacement hip. So I went to the government, believing that they would help me. Good few years ago now, actually. It's probably 6 years ago, I suppose. And they wouldn't. They actually sent me for the ATOS assessment. Delightful building. And I actually went for an ATOS assessment the day before my operation. That's how, fucked up this system is. So in my time of need, nobody was there for me. But the people who were there for me were the Injured Jockeys Fund. And it was actually, I didn't contribute much to the Injured Jockeys Fund other than the fact that I held a professional license for 15 years. I paid into that. I think it was like £1 a ride or something like that. We paid into that charity. But they are there for the rest of my life. If I get to the position where I'm too ill to work, they will pay my income. And it's wrong that a charity like that has to subsidize me when my own government, the people I trusted, are not there for me. And that, what I'm coming round to is, I think more and more people should be filing civil claims against them. You were led to believe, we were all led to believe, national insurance, we were led to believe was our contribution to healthcare. And they've just pulled that from underneath us. So if somebody else, if you were in a business with somebody, or you had a business arrangements with somebody and you were paying them X amount of money, let's use an example of a mortgage. You were paying a mortgage for all of these years, and you were led to believe that at the end of it, you would own your house. Okay? If they went, oh no, guess what? We changed our mind about that. We're going to keep the house. Fuck you. Okay? Well, what would you do? You'd seek remedy. You'd go after them. You'd sue them. You'd take them. You'd do everything you possibly could. And then privatise the National Health Service. And everybody just goes, well, that's bad luck. What? Bad luck? You've paid for it. You've paid into the system. You've paid for these things. You've paid money to be looked after. Learn to navigate the court system. Learn to take these people to court. Hold them accountable. If you don't hold them accountable, they're just going to keep doing it. And then, we're in this situation then where it's them against us, and it's all like fight. You've got, if they went back and kept their promises and did what they said they would do, look after us, and this brilliant National Health Service, all they're doing at the moment is slating it on the telly to justify the fact that they've privatized it. It's an absolute joke, but people are so they just accept it, and they just go, oh, there's nothing I can do. Well, there is something you can do. That's why we've got a court system. That's why you can escalate a court case if you don't get remedy in a lower court. You can fight the police if they take your car off you and they don't use due process of law. You can fight the council. You can, those magistrates yesterday, I would hope that Steve is, dogged in trying to find out the identity of each and every one of them that took part in that hearing yesterday. He had 5 witnesses in the room with him who would all sort of quite happily give him statements and seek remedy. Go after them. Because if you don't go after them, are they going to be happy to do that again in 3 months' time, or do it to somebody like Stephanie Bottrell? Yes, they are. If you go after them and they are financially penalised for their actions, or, stop from being a magistrate, if they're stopped from being a magistrate, they can't do it to anybody else. But if they're financially penalised, the next time somebody asks, are you a member of the council? Is there a conflict of interest? Can you identify yourself? And they just go, no, that's not relevant, and we're not going to identify ourselves because we're 5-year-old children playing in a schoolyard. And we're significantly more important than you, peasants, or whatever they want to call us, Don't just take this lying down. Seek remedy. Go after people. Stand up for your rights. Stand up for your rights peacefully. Stand up for your rights. But be dogged about it. Write letters. Contact people. Just Learn who you are. Learn to operate. You've got this person to use, this chess piece in the game of life. Use it. Start learning how to play chess with it. Anybody like to add to that? Lee, you're very quiet tonight. Matthew? Or Lee, go on.
No, I just sat back listening. Just reminded me of a metaphor that I always kind of like try to explain to people that are first learning about all this. And you just said about learn to play chess. I always say to them, give them a comparison of drafts against chess. And so we was always taught about all the legal system. We was taught to play drafts on a chessboard. And then all of a sudden you come across people that are doing, hey, up, you can't do that. We say, yeah, you can. That's a knight. That can move like this. And they hammer you at drafts, or what you think is drafts, they think is chess. They just annihilate you. But when you learn how to play chess, they realise straight away that you're playing chess.
Yeah, quite right. It is, and it's amazing the turnaround in when you start, like I think Dean Clifford will always say, know me by my actions. You know, if you do know what you're talking about and you can answer them right away, you know, you can answer back at them, and they really do know that you're onto the game that you're playing. Like you say, once you're playing chess, they're not so keen to play, you know, they're not so keen to cheat at chess if you know how to play chess properly. And it's brilliant. It's brilliant.
It's dead right. It's like what I also recommend to people as well is if you're ever writing a letter to anybody, put reference numbers on there, your own little reference, and keep a reference in your own little computer log or whatever. It could be a notepad thing you've saved somewhere, but keep with reference numbers and certified copies. Send them certified copies rather than the original and things, and it starts to screw with their mind because they know that you're playing the right rules.
Yeah, exactly. And I think what Guy Taylor does as well is if he went into that room yesterday. I know Guy's very busy. I think he's probably in the thing where we were talking about yesterday, where people all of a sudden want you to be like a kind of a leader or whatever. And I think he's probably bombarded. But if anything happens now in a courtroom, like happened with Steve yesterday, where they wouldn't identify themselves, what he will do, he'll contact the police and he'll demand a log number for his complaint. And if they won't act on it, at least he has a log number that he can basically file, and then he sort of keeps them there, you know, to be part of a civil claim once he gets round to it. And there's always something on record that something has taken place. Like, I mean, that policeman, I haven't even looked at it yet. I've got his sort of number, etc. But I don't believe a policeman should take orders from a magistrate, and he definitely took orders from the magistrates yesterday. Even so, if a magistrate can order them, were they in the capacity of a magistrate when they gave the order? You know, we will, and I will start sort of getting on their case a little bit about that, and making a few phone calls and writing a couple of letters. I mean, it's not really my place to do anything in regards to the case personally with Steve, but he ejected me from the courtroom, threatened me with contempt of court. He got up in Bob's face. I don't know. He couldn't get close to me because of my nose. I don't know. My nose might have been a bit, but in any case, he ejected me and accused me of something. So I'm in the position where I can start stirring up a little bit of activity for him. And it might go nowhere, but sure as hell might think the next time that he acts like that, well, hang on a minute, those people are not identifying themselves. All they're asking him to do is identify themselves, you know? So it is interesting, and I think people are just so scared of sort of filing a civil claim or writing letters to these people. You've got to get that out of your head. And one of the things that stops people is what have they got to lose, and the stuff that the stuff around them that they could lose if they start doing this stuff. And once you lose that, once you get rid of the fear, or you have nothing to lose, I think that's a powerful position to be in. And I don't know if there are any questions or anything, or if you want to add anything to that, Paul.
That's the thing that keeps coming to me is about knowing your accuser. You seem to circumvent that by, in the council tax cases, of the council is the accuser rather than the magistrates or even the judge. And I think a lot of people direct their energies at the magistrate.
Yeah.
Rather than towards the clerk or to the accuser, whoever it might be.
Yeah.
Because in most cases, the accuser is a second party or a third party. They're an employee, and really, at the end of the day, they're just doing their job.
Yeah.
So, that's how I kind of see it. That most of the time, they're directing their energies in the wrong direction. Where the lady or the woman who was at the courts, she directed her energy at the council, directly at her accuser. And from what the reports I heard, the accuser crumbles immediately.
Oh yeah, because they never get challenged. It's like with the clerk. Like I will always in court, if a clerk or the Crown, like what you saw yesterday in a lot of the questions that Steve was asking, and this is something you all must be totally aware of, okay? If you don't get it on public record, it didn't happen, okay? So yesterday, the clerk was using a tactic whereby he'd nod or shake his head, as were, what would be the Crown, which is the council lawyer in this case, but would be the Crown usually. So, for example, if the Crown ever doesn't speak or nods his head, I would say, for the public record, Crown is refusing to answer, or for the public record, the clerk just nodded his head at the council solicitor. We saw that firsthand yesterday and if you cross-reference that with a police interview tape, if people who watch telly, okay, if something happens that somebody comes in the room, they'll say, "Oh, for the tape, somebody just came in the room. For the tape, the defendant or the whoever it is they're talking to just nodded his head." If you don't make it a matter of public record and say that it happened, it didn't happen. If somebody happens to be recording it, say one of the witnesses had some sort of a recording device on them, okay, and you were trying to get some sort of a transcript, or you needed evidence of something happening. If somebody nods their head in that room, or scratches their ass, or does a secret signal to somebody that, it might be they turn around 3 times and flap their wings, I don't know, whatever. If you don't say it happened, the recording will not know it happened. And it's the same for the public record. If they're making a record of it and they're transcribing it or whatever they claim to do, if you don't say it, it didn't happen. I keep drumming it in. Every single thing that happens, call it out. If it's not able to be transcribed on the paper, make it a record. Crown's refusing to speak. Crown's refusing to answer the question. Crown's testifying. He can't testify. He wasn't there. He wasn't he wasn't a first-hand witness to what happened. How can he testify? Objection. It's an adversarial process. Fight. And that's a brilliant, valid point of directing your energy towards the council in that case, because the council in that scenario take up the role of what the Crown would do when you're at magistrates court level. So anyway, do continue. I was on a rant again then.
I was soaking up your rant. I really was soaking up your So yeah, where were we, Dave?
We were trying to get him to do that. We were trying to get him to sort of.
Yes. I think that in a sense that's a mistake if we're going to call it that. That Star-Lord made by not actually speaking it for the public record.
Yeah.
Because their actions aren't recorded. So yeah, you can see why they don't want people in there recording it. They have an issue with people being recorded and stuff. You know, they always make out it's because it's to protect the people in court. If that's the case, why do they allow the press in?
And what do they need protecting from?
Yeah, exactly. You see, it's always it's to protect the people, not the court. You know, they don't open up the courts because sometimes people are innocent and they shouldn't be. Well, they don't have a problem blocking it out for the rich elite, do they?
No.
You know,
Quite.
And this immediate presumption that people are going to report on things which aren't untoward.
Yeah.
So yeah, good. It's a very good point. A very good point you raise. I didn't know it. I didn't know it, but I will. Well, I don't think I'll ever get in court again. That's the thing. You've seen how they react towards me, Dave.
They just. It's like how I got with the local one of the local councils, where I'm not allowed to ring them, I'm not allowed to email them, I'm not allowed to write to them, I'm not allowed to contact them in any way. Well, that's brilliant because I can't pay a bill.
Yeah.
Whether it's a lawful bill or not, I can't pay it because I'm not allowed to go near them. I'm not allowed to speak because I used to ring the council up every Friday to wish them a happy weekend. I actually invited the lawyer from the council, the head lawyer who I used to speak to almost every day, and just ring up and say, how are you doing today? I just thought I'd ring up to see how you are. And it used to get inside her head. I mean, she must have thought, what is this guy about? I used to ring her up on a Friday and say, look, I'm having a barbecue at the weekend. Would you like to come over? I mean, what she must have thought of me, and we used to laugh about it, but I genuinely, I would have been happy. And when I got to one of the council tax courts for me, you know, I went up to her and I said, I feel like I want to give you a big hug because I know you so well. I mean, like she was squirming, you know, because she knew that it was one human being and another human being, and she knew what she was doing was wrong. You know, she'd been to law school. She knew what she was doing was wrong. But all I was doing was showing her love and compassion, and she just could not deal with that. She felt very, very awkward. And, that's another interesting way that the psychological aspect of it. If you learn to read people, and I know Paul is particularly good at reading people, very, very good, far better than I would be, but learning to read how people are reacting or putting them off their guard or off step, you know, just unsettling them, just doing one little thing. If you could jump in and suggest, because you've got some pretty good psychological moves going on, and if you could share that with some of the listeners, that would be good, because I was fascinated by some of that, because I think it's a good tactic. So
what have I done now?
You know, putting them off, like putting them sort of putting them off guard, putting them you going in and saying something to them to just make them feel uneasy.
Well, no, I'm not making. I generally don't go with that intention at all to put them off or make them feel uneasy. I don't. I love it.
I suppose it's the non-fear thing, isn't it? Because
definitely. You know, you can feel it if you tune into it. You can feel it that they were, and a lot of the time we take it on. You can recognise it without taking it on. You don't have to become part of it. I mean, the real funny part is when we were stood outside the court, we've been told to get out, and we kept asking people if they'd go inside and get the number. Get the number off. They were trying to leave. The clerk, and were you going to get that number off that policeman? And as I was walking out, I said to Dave, "We'll have to send him a bill." And Dave said to me, "What for?" I don't know. We'll think of something. And really, it's just to say.
Well, he gave us an order.
Yeah, I mean, it at that point, like I say, I'm learning all this. It is, but at that point, who was he? Who are you? I've got a piece of plastic and there's police on it. So, do You know, but you know they try and escalate it like it's a rush, and you've got to do it now. You've got to. They're trying to rush everything, and you know you try and calm it down, and they become aggressive immediately.
Yeah.
As I placed my hand out, and he went, "What are you doing?" He said, "I don't want to shake your hand, but you saw how close he got to me."
Yeah.
And that's exactly. He then looked down towards my hand.
Yeah, and it's the human. I think it's the human that they can't connect. That when you start being human.
Well, I looked right into his eyes, and he had to look down. And just looked right into him, and he put his head down.
Yeah.
So.
It's important as well. Like sort of, the both of us picked up yesterday with the council lawyer. I presume she was the lawyer. She must have been. She didn't look a very good one, but. The both of us picked up on her body language simultaneously, really, didn't we? We you know, I don't know if anybody else in the room did, but we bloody did.
It was funny. It was. I couldn't help it. I think I'm developing Tourette's.
She was definitely under her breath going, "Oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck."
Wasn't it? You know, the guy, Mr. I don't want to call him Norman now because we've got Norman in the room. And then, excuse me. Well, he said, "Will you stop laughing?
These proceedings aren't funny."
But they were actually hilarious.
They were freaking funny.
How I managed to contain myself for as long as I did. It is. Like you say, you saw his chest puffed out. He took on a defensive posture. He was ready to attack. His chin dropped. His chin came forward. His shoulders rounded, and he was ready for assault.
Yeah.
And all that had happened because Star-Lord wouldn't stand where he wanted him to.
And I think his words were when Star-Lord said, I'm going to sit here, thank you very much. And he went, "Will you indeed?" I would have gone, "Oh, yes, indeed."
Well, he did. Will you indeed?
Yeah, I think a classic, Guy Taylor, when he went into one of the Crown Courts there, the barrister they wear the wigs when you get up to that sort of level and
stuff like that. Will you indeed?
Ooh, it might be. Lee, get looking that up. Is it a death threat? We'll be back on that.
I was just thinking, whoa, just as you said that, I was like, okay, I'm on it.
Yeah, we'll have it. But the Guy Taylor, like just on the having fun part there, Guy Taylor was up against the barrister in Crown Court for something, and the barrister was sort of sitting down, going through his paperwork and blah, 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 and they had wheelie chairs. And Guy Taylor wheeled up on his chair, flat out, got to the barrister's paperwork, stole it from the barrister, and went wheeling off on his chair and did a sign like sort of, I don't know how you describe the sign on air, but basically taking the piss out of the barrister. And but he got on a bit of a level with him, and the next time they were in court for the same case, Guy was sitting down reading his paperwork, and this barrister wheeled over on his chair, stole Guy's paperwork, and wheeled himself off again and did the same sign back. So, there is fun to be had. There is a lot of fun to be had once you get, these people are taking it. I think the magistrates take it far too seriously. They should just chill the fuck out.
Well, except for downloading porn off the internet, what else do they do in their lives? These people haven't, it's probably the most exciting, important thing that they've ever done.
Yeah, and the most dishonourable thing that they've ever done as well.
Well, I don't dispute that. I don't really know what this honour is, to be honest. I don't know how you become dissed in honour. Just, okay.
Well, just call them idiots. Just call them idiots. That's all they are. Idiots. Idiots who feel very important.
Like you said, they're like children in fancy dress, and they've forgotten. Yeah. They've forgotten. And the thing is, when they actually take the fancy dress off and they walk out of that courtroom, they still don't know. We do.
Yeah.
We know, they don't. So, yeah, that's why I kind of see that. Although they don't deserve our compassion, we should still at least attempt to show it them.
Yeah.
You know, they don't know. They don't
I'm
know.
dying to know about this will you indeed now.
Well, will is a death contract, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, he said there's a contract of death.
Oh, while we're on that
Well,
subject,
to
as
be
well,
fair-
That
Hold on,
man,
just
I've
to
never
jump
reckoned.
I don't want to jump on that. The will isn't a death contract as such.
Isn't it?
It's just a will is an irrevocable trust. You can your will. You
Right.
can have a will when you're living.
yeah.
All right.
I was just gonna say that actually
Well, I-
for the court scenario as well. Always get it on public record that your free will is not to be there.
Yeah.
My free will is to leave right now. You know, we've got a living will. We've got at least right about that. Once I thought that through, but yeah, get that on record.
It's an irrevocable contract, yeah? Is that what it is, Lee? An irrevocable
Irrevocable.
Irrevocable, yeah.
irrevocable contract. So, he said, so the first bit is, he's put a contract out on him.
So he said, will is, this is an irrevocable contract.
Now. I place an irrevocable contract on thee now. So he'd already signed it. He'd already done it. He didn't take position. The guy told him how much, the woman told him how much it was. They immediately wrote it down, let him have his couple of minutes or what's it, and said, that's it, it's over, bye. It was already over. He told
Yeah.
him, will thee, brilliant. I didn't know that until we spoke about it. He'd already said it. When he wouldn't take the position he wanted him to take, he found against him.
70 quid for 3 minutes wasn't bad though. 70 quid is quite a good, if they can do that every 3 minutes, they're earning a few quid, aren't they? So, you know.
Yeah, so I mean, really, I should charge the police officer at least £35 for the time he spent.
Yeah, well, I thinking about it, he did give us an order, and if you give somebody an order, they can charge you for the order.
Yeah.
Perfectly feasible. We'll have to write our bills out.
You followed his actions. You did what he asked. You delivered.
Yeah, we delivered the order.
Actually, the order was the order of the magistrate. The magistrate ordered him to do it, of course.
When you write the letter, as consideration in the contract, give him the out of, if it wasn't you, like what they do when you get flashed on the cameras, if it wasn't you that gave the order, and you were just passing on the order, who gave the order? Name the suspect. And you
he refused to.
Yeah.
The police officer would have known that the man who gave him the order refused to identify himself, Lee.
Yeah, but that's
But
the
then
thing. On the paperwork,
Yeah.
he's got to
But, yeah,
either
that's-
he's
and
supposed
that's
to name them or take the fucking hit himself. He's going to name them, isn't he?
And if he says that they gave the order and it is unlawful or illegal or whatever you want to say, that a magistrate can give an order for a policeman to do something. Because he didn't act on his own.
The way I'd do it, the way I'd attack it is the first letter to him, right? But give him the chance to name the person that actually gave the order if it wasn't him.
Yeah.
Right? But then also, I've lost my train of thought. I was going to add something else onto that. But to say to him, he's got to basically name up who or take the full under commercial. But then when he does name the person, then that is evidence in your file, and you can then call him as a witness because he'll be under full commercial liability by replying to what he said.
Yeah.
Now, if I was the defence in their case, then I would actually say that I was being disruptive by my laughter in the court at a very minimum. However, Dave got thrown out of the court for sitting next to me.
But I did laugh.
Only when they threw me out. So you were doing your best to contain it. You really were. Their annoyance was at me.
Was it a snicker or a full belly laugh?
No snicker.
Me. It was proper. I wanted them to make sure they knew where I was. You know. Yes, it's me over here. Excuse me. And the second time I did it, he said, "This is not funny. Oh, please forgive me. Please forgive me." And then I did it again. Well, they've got to forgive you.
Yeah, that's correct. Always ask for forgiveness if you threaten you.
Excuse me. Forgive me. Forgive me again. Forgive me again.
And you said I'm recording this in my subconscious, isn't it?
No, I said, excuse me. It's being recorded in my consciousness. So yeah, but yeah, I fully agree with you. You know, they would have actually, they could actually say that I was being disruptive because I wasn't doing exactly what they wanted me to do. However,
I wasn't.
You definitely were. Well, on that level alone, the legalities of it, of course, are that we were the only people in the court that did actually act legally, lawfully, I think I got the word right. Me and Dave, because we did rebut what was happening in a public court. Whoa, hang on a minute. He's got to tell you. Well, I want to know who he is.
Yeah,
you know?
and
I want to know who he is. I'm not there under any charges or anything. I'm a member of the public, and I've got a right to know who's accusing him.
Yeah,
who's judging over this person. You know.
We were, where we were threatened with contempt of court as well by the magistrates didn't shout that, and they normally come unglued and do that, but he was the one that said it. Outside, he was the one that said, "Oh, you'll be done for contempt of court," and I was, well, which one? Civil contempt, or, it's, yeah, I think that writing will definitely happen in regards to him, and I think that's a good tactic what he is suggesting. So, and I do hope that Nigel will seek, some sort of remedy and be writing to the courts and ask them, to identify themselves. But again, that's another point that I must go over again and again and again and again. If they keep playing the name game with you, who are you? Well, hold on a minute. I haven't got introduced to you yet. Who are you? What's your date of birth? What's your full name? Have you got any identification on you? And they can't start shouting and bawling at you for that. You're entitled to know with whom you deal. They could be anybody. They could be like, some tramp that they just dressed in posh clothes for the day. They could be anybody. You have the complete right to ask who they are, and if they refuse to, then you can say, well, if you're not going to identify yourself, I'm leaving. And if you do anything against me in this room, I will sue every last one of you. I will find out who you are, and I will sue you. You failed to identify yourself. Always take witnesses with you. Take witnesses who are prepared to write statements, like I say, you are the only people that can defend yourselves. The Mackenzie friend is a very, very difficult thing to do, because what they do, if the Mackenzie friend is having an effect and some of the questions are awkward and they know that's gonna throw a spanner in the works, they'll just say, we don't think your Mackenzie friend is helping you, therefore we're going to stop him from speaking. Like, a Mackenzie friend can't address the court. I would have to check whether a responsible adult could. I know if somebody is disabled, there's a sort of a way around where you can speak on somebody's behalf if they are incapable of speaking on their behalf. So I don't know whether that would fill the role of a responsible adult. I have addressed the court as a Mackenzie friend for house repossession, but that's a different venue. But in a magistrate's court, it's a very, very dangerous thing, and I didn't want to do that at all yesterday, because what you do is the person you're helping, as soon as they lose you being their crutch, if you start chucking spanners in the works, and again, they use the excuse, he's not helping you, this guy isn't helping you, we're going to stop him from speaking. They're just stood there then without a crutch, and they're just sunk straight away. So I would advise against that. Just try and get people to sort of learn and listen to various methods and stuff, and just try and learn what they're doing themselves, learn what the person is, learn how to use the person, get it into your head that you are not a corporate officer, you do not work for the government. Therefore, their statutory laws do not apply to you. I keep saying it and saying it and saying it. Do not go into court arguing about points of statutes or, the legality of the process that they've used and blah-de-blah-de-blah-de-blah. No, ask questions. When did this become applicable to me? If you're claiming I work for your corporation, have you got any payroll records? Can you produce any evidence that I work for you? If you call the Crown, just refer to them as de facto Crown. I had a Crown or a prosecutor admit that they were the de facto Crown when I was on the phone to him there a bit ago. I believe he's going to be in court on Monday, so I'm looking forward to that. I'm hoping it's going to be one of the guys that ducks his head down, because I especially love that. And sort of bring your personality out in court. Like, smile at them, or wink at them, or stuff like that. Do all that type of stuff, and really, really, really enjoy it. Because if you're smiling and such like, you're not going to give, fear, body language of fear and like, oh yes sir, no sir, blah blah blah. You gotta just stand there and enjoy it. For the record, Crown just scratched his ass. Just have a bit of fun. So I don't know if anybody wants to ask any questions. I think we're down to 4 minutes now. Is that right?
Thereabouts. That's correct.
Yeah. I don't know if anybody wants to add, or if you want to add anything, Matthew, from yesterday, from what you enjoyed your day there. I don't know if you want to add anything in there. You were taking the piss out of the magistrate, so come on, let's hear it. Matthew, are you there? No, Amy's clubbed him over the head. Matthew's not gonna. I think they were when they sort of got back control of or what they perceived as control, and the woman was sort of organising her paperwork and tapping it on the bench and sort of staring sternly out into the courtroom. Matt was doing the same actions as her and laughing at her, and I think she gave him a bit of a dirty look. But the thing is with Matt, he just can't help himself. So yeah, we're going to be up for coming up again. I think when Pete's in there maybe, or something like that. We'll just watch the space and see what's going on. I've got to send him up a prompt sheet that he can ask some more questions. But all in all, yeah, I've really enjoyed it tonight. And shame there's not a few more questions or anything going on. But never mind. I don't know if anybody wants to add anything to that. Lee, have you found out about this? Will you indeed?
No, I'm still working on it. I'll check it out. I'll let you know.
I think that's it. I think he's when he's actually said it to him. I did notice later on when the presumed what is the lawyer from the council spoke out the amount. They all wrote the amount down and signed. Yeah, that was it.
Quite often though, they're signed before these cases are even. They're printed off certainly before the cases are even heard, and then so I've got one I meant to show you yesterday in the phone. There's one where it was done 3 days prior to the hearing.
Yeah, mine was. They actually billed my account for the court costs when they sent the bill out.
Yeah, and no, but the liability order was actually issued and stamped prior 3 days prior to the case. Right. So it's actually signed, dated and blah blah blah, and the case wasn't for another 3 days. So the court case was to discuss liability or to prove liability. Yet liability had already been decided, if you like.
They have been telling people on the telephone they didn't need to attend, and then they're getting them through the post.
Mm. Well, it saves money.
Yeah, well, they said they don't want people turning up at the court. Like I said, it's not even 3 minutes then, is it?
No, quite correct. So, but yeah, we're down to the last half a minute by the looks of it. So next week, I'm hoping to be live at around 2 a.m. our time to do a show on divestment with Dean Clifford. We'll keep you posted on that. Thanks for everybody sort of listening, tuning in, and getting involved. And thanks for all the input and helping us get along. And if we get any more stories, which we're bound to, obviously next week I'll be able to tell you how that went. If anybody wants to join us at Stroud Magistrates Court Monday, get yourself up there and we'll have a fun day out. So it's been brilliant. Yeah, thanks ever so much.